It's one thing to understand that links are important to help boost your SEO, but it's a whole other thing to actually get them. So in this tutorial, we're going to talk about 10 ways to get your backlinks. But before we do, let me explain what not to do, because you can get penalized if you get bad links. Number one, do not buy links. Google penalizes if they find out you buy links. Don't guest post just to get links, and especially don't guest post on low quality sites. Guest posting on high quality sites is okay and is good for SEO. Also, don't hire cheap freelancers or agencies, because they'll just cut corners when they build you links, and they're not going to get you any kind of quality links, because right now the name of the game is quality links. Also, don't do things like post links to your site in blog comments and YouTube comments. It doesn't work. It will more likely to get you penalized if you do this in mass. And also, don't post links in easy spots like directories. Those links are not going to help you. Also, if you're networking with people and you say, hey, I'll link to you if you link to me, don't do that. Google doesn't like that, because it's obvious that you're manipulating search, because you're doing each other a favor. So don't cross link to one another. Now that I explained what not to do, all these low-hanging fruit strategies, they don't work, so don't do them. Let me explain to you what to do. And what to do, they are not low-hanging fruit, they are difficult, but if you hustle and work hard, you can get them. The first way I like to get links is through publicity. Anytime you can have a story about you and mentioned in any big magazine, in any local publication, your local newspaper, do something unusual to get publicity, network with journalists, become a source. I'll talk about that a little later in this lecture. There's a lot of things you can do to get publicity, and publicity is really one of the best ways, because the sites that will link to you are really big, popular websites that are really rare to get links from them. And the next strategy is radioguestlist.com. This is a service that sends you daily or a few times a week emails of podcasts and radio shows that are looking for guests. And if you become a guest on one of those, usually they have an accompanying website from which they will write show notes and link to your site. So not only you're going to be appearing on as a guest on the podcast or radio and get traffic from there, but you'll also get a link. Next is Haro, helpareporter.com. It's a way for journalists who are writing stories and who need expert opinions or expert advice for their stories on some topics. They write to this listserv, and it's an email that you get 3 times a day, and it's a compilation of reporters who are looking for help. And if you can help the reporters by being an expert source or providing some kind of tips or suggestions about whatever they're asking about, they're going to link to you from their page, from their article that they're writing, and mention your site and give you credit. And that can give you really good links. For example, I've gotten links like that from Mashable, which is one of the biggest sites out there, CBS News, so huge sites. If you keep on trying to do publicity, you can also experiment with getting press and doing press releases. And you can try press releases on a site like PR Web, PR Log. These sites are really cheap, and you can send out your press release to hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of publications, and maybe somebody will pick it up and write a story about you with a backlink to your site. You also can ask friends of yours, potential colleagues, or people who are business entrepreneurs just like yourself, and if they've ever gotten publicity or if they ever got links from some bloggers or somewhere, you can just ask them. Asking is sometimes can get you far. If you just ask them, sometimes they can make a recommendation, introduce you to the person who's linked to them, and maybe that person can also link to you. Number 6 is has a little bit of a cynical name. It's called link begging, and it's a very brute force strategy where you maybe hire a really cheap freelancer, and what you have them do is you have them find all the sites, all the blogs within your niche, and then you write a pitch to them to start networking with all those blogs that they find. And the blogs that they find, what happens is You'll write something like, hey, nice to meet you. I'm trying to do SEO. I'm trying to do this and that, and I would appreciate a link. And in exchange, I can do this or that or this or that for you. As you can imagine, this will have a very low success rate, but because you're going to hire a really cheap freelancer for this, and you're going to contact many sites, and a very small percentage of them, like 1, 2, maybe 3% of them, maybe 4% of them will respond positively. This is why you shouldn't do it. This is one of the things that you can hire a freelancer for that's really cheap, because it's a no-brain job. And then some of these will respond positively and they will link to you. So a very small success rate, but it's a numbers game on that one. Next is you have to build relationships with all kinds of content creators, bloggers, podcasters, journalists within your business niche. Having those relationships, you can call upon them whenever you have something ready, whenever you have a product launch, whenever you have any new kind of a release. You can ping them and say, hey, do you mind writing a story? I'll give you an exclusive. An exclusive means that for a few days, only that publication gets that story, and they're the ones who break it, and no other publication does. And sometimes, if you foster relationships with bloggers, podcasters, journalists, by simply using social media, by retweeting them, sharing their work, commenting on their work, intelligently commenting, then of course they'll recognize you, and they'll be more likely to help you when you need help and when you have something good that you're getting publicity for. Another strategy is to feature other people on your promotional channels. It can be your email list, and it can be your YouTube channel, anything else. And when you help people, they're going to be much more likely to help you back. And if the type of help that you need is to get backlinks, then that's something that you might ask for in return, and then you might be more likely to get it. Next, number 9, I really like presenting at events. You can try to present at other people's events, or if this is successful for you and if you like this long term, you can start your own event series. An event series is very powerful because it will give you publicity. It will help you network with a lot of people. It will put you at the forefront, at the top of the pyramid of this, of the event attendees, and you can get leads from these events and who can become your clients. But also sometimes the other benefit is that sometimes the attendees are bloggers or journalists in the events, and they can write about you and give you publicity that way. And what you always want to do is number 10, is always be different, stand out, get attention, because a little extra attention can go a long way, because you will get noticed. People will take a further look at what you're doing. Maybe they'll like what you're doing, and that will be a snowball effect of getting them engaged enough to write about you, and maybe to recommend you to somebody who can write about you. So always be different. Don't be afraid to stand out. It's usually a good thing. So those are the 10 ways that I like to get links. You see, none of them are particularly easy, but if you do them, precisely this is what's going to set you apart, because almost nobody else is going to do this. And right now, the cheap, low-hanging fruit ways of getting links, they no longer work. So this is really the only option. And if link building and ranking is really important for you, then you've really got to allocate resources to do this.